And welcome to the Comic Queens podcast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Annie. And today I am going to be diving in with you all to do a New Year's resolutions recap for you. 2025, I had picked some of the series I wanted to get completed, and I was maybe super successful in some areas and not in some others. So, without further ado, I'm just going to dive right in. I'm going to also start out with my disappointments, as Alex did yesterday, in saying that there were two that I didn't start this year at all. And that was the Iluvian Cycle, which was on my list last year too.
Yeah.
And I've just been in such a mood reading slump. Like, my body's only allowing me to read what I want to read in that mood in that moment. So, I'm so sorry, Iluvian Cycle. I truly want to read you. And I know my actions are speaking louder than my words. But I promise I've wanted to read this story. It looks precious. I just haven't touched it.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I haven't read HONBUL, Flame of the Soul.
I did.
You did. You read this one for me. This was literally not only one that I was supposed to read for my New Year's resolution, but I was also supposed to read it for my birthday, and then I just didn't. A mood reading slump? It's a real bitch. I will read this one again. I have every faith in me that this is something I need to get through, if for nothing else, because I was fucking supposed to. And I didn't.
HONBUL's really good too.
Yeah, I know that you like it. It is a boy love action, and I'm kind of nervous.
Yeah, I think you're going to like it. It's not action-y enough that I think you'll dislike it.
Isn't that bad that that's a quantifier for me?
No, I don't think so, because number of tears is a quantifier for me. So.
All right. So next we'll move on to some of the kind of pluses. I have read 30 out of 80 episodes of the script. So that was on my list to start us out.
That's pretty good.
The script did leave Manta as an unlimited series and is now on there as a gem-only series. Mm-hmm. So when I was nervous that this was leaving the platform, I did unlock it with gems, which then I think just kind of allowed me to push it further back on the TBR.
That's fair.
But I have gotten 30 episodes in. This series follows Yeju, who ends up going through a really bad curse from a shaman, and her brother are now tied to one another. He's basically become her shadow for half of the day, and I mean, they're both miserable with everything. And so in trying to get rid of this curse, she ends up becoming a guardian of the South, and Yeju's not very good at holding up this bargain, to the point that all of the different tribes that are supposed to be supporting her as guardian decide to leave because they don't feel that she's doing her duties. And she is bent on revenge. Like, her entire goal is, she's like, I'm going to find this shaman and kill him because the previous standing guardian told me that that's how I get rid of this curse. Mm-hmm. Then she meets Hiwu, who is part of the Tiger clan, who has made it very clear that he wants to borrow her sword because nay, he will be the person to kill this shaman, not her.
Isn't he the cutest tiger, though?
He's adorable. Yeah. I saw him and was like, aw, he looks like a tiger cub. And there was a tiger cub at the beginning of the story. Yeah. So I was like, well, that seems fitting. I won't get super into it and give a bunch of spoilers, but so far I do really like this series. I haven't finished it, but I'm going to finish it.
I can't wait to hear what you rate it next year when you finish it. This is one that I also purchased, even though I've had already read it.
Amazing.
Because I loved it so much.
Well, I hope that it'll just be an extra perk for me that I have it unlocked for forever. Yeah. Because it looks pretty great. The next one that I read, this was at the very beginning of the year for our Snake God episode. Mm-hmm. I read When the Magpie Comes. It was on my New Year's resolutions list. This is a BL fantasy on Leeson that was completed with 47 episodes. There was a lot to like about this series. It follows Dohan, whose grandfather told him a myth back in the day about how if you treat a magpie well, then the magpie will look out for you later on in life. And so it's good to be nice to the creatures around you and everything else. And he says that their ancestors saved this magpie from a serpent. And in doing so, they gained the favor of the magpies. Dohan has no reason to take this seriously. He does, however, have a magpie that seems to be quite fond of him outside his window, but that's unrelated. Dohan has terrible luck with men, mostly because he has terrible taste in men. We'll just call it what he is. He's a terrible judge of character. And Dohan immediately falls for his new incoming next door neighbor named Sabin, who is basically working for the previous existing serpent god. And he's out for revenge. And he's like, Dohan, his ancestors killed this serpent god, and I have his soul trapped in a jar, and I need revenge. So I, Sabin, will take revenge on Dohan. Mm-hmm. And the Magpie turns out to also be a god who is looking over Dohan. So it is like the revival of the fight between the Magpie and the serpent. And Dohan is just kind of clueless in the middle. It turns into a throuple in the end. So there are like some definite good things about it. I will say it's not one that I think I would go back to read. So if I were ranking this in my completed series, then I would rank this a C. But I did like it. There were some definite good parts. I just wish that they could have agreed to be a throuple and I could have seen that for longer. Yeah. Because there was good tension, but they all forgave one another. And I just felt like it needed to go a little bit longer.
Fair enough.
So it was fine.
I mean, that is our stance on all love triangles.
Yeah. They should be literally almost all thruples.
Yeah.
The tension alone for half of them, I'm like, you guys all love each other. You just need to figure that out. The next one that I read is Count Tachibana. This one is a BL mystery that's completed on Lizum with 70 episodes. And this one is a perfect, just chaotic mess. None of the mystery was anything I saw coming. I would not have been able to figure any of it out. The story follows Younghyun. He is just your regular old, like, 12-year-old kid. And there is a castle on this hill, but it belongs to the Tachibana family. And he gets summoned to become friends with Sho Tachibana, the son of this family. He goes like all of the time over the summer and everything else to hang out with Sho. And Sho is brokenhearted when he figures out that Younghyun's only there because he's getting paid to be there. And Younghyun's like, no, I'm being entirely honest. Like, I'm getting paid to be here, but I love being your friend. And really the mystery kind of starts to evolve when Younghyun's realizing that Sho is trapped inside of this castle. And he's like, just leave. Like, tell your mom you have to go. He's like, I don't have parents here. What are you talking about? And you realize that he is not the son of this Tachibana family like everyone assumes that he is. Mm-hmm. And so Younghyun goes from being excited to see his friend to realizing his friend is a prisoner and that they need to get the hell out of there. And that is just the beginning. None of that spoils anything that happens later. It was so good start to finish. The art was beautiful. And I'd rank this an S. 100%. I literally would love to reread it all over again. The next one I read is There's a Mouse in My House. This one is completed on Manta with 66 episodes. It's a romance drama. And right off the bat, I was nervous about this one because the art looked gorgeous, but it is the same writer as Under the Oak Tree.
Yeah.
And I have mixed feelings, personal opinion, but I don't like the miscommunication or lack of communication between the main characters. And I was worried that would trickle in here. And my worries were founded. This story revolves around Hyunsoo. She is a photographer who was extremely well known in her field, and she ends up just dropping photography altogether and kind of just holing up in her apartment. She's depressed. She doesn't have any inspiration or motivation to continue doing it. And even though she's highly sought after and her previous company wants to work with her and everything else, she's just feeling lost. Like her love's not in it anymore. Mm-hmm. And so she goes out during the middle of a snowstorm because she needs to grab some ramen. And as she's coming back home in the snow, she sees this kid who's definitely going to freeze to death. This guy is just like a young man. He's beaten up, like battered and bruised, and just covered in blood, dirt, whatever. He looks homeless. She has an internal dilemma about whether or not she should help him. She's like, if I bring him back to my apartment, he could be a killer and he could literally kill me. And she's just at a point in her life where she's like, you know what? I'm just going to bring him home anyway. Like, she doesn't even consider it for that long. But she brings him home and he turns out not to be. And it's really just a tragic romance between this terribly depressed person who has lost their will to live and like their drive to live, and this man who's been given horrible circumstances and how bad he's struggling to survive just because he's fallen absolutely head over heels for Hyunsu.
Mm-hmm.
They do have lack of communication in several different points of this, but the drama aspects of it are just so heart-wrenching and beautiful. I did genuinely love this story. Even with the lack of communication and everything else it has going on, it was just a lot of character development, and they're able to grow both apart and together. And there was just something so pretty about this story. I ranked it an A.
I'm glad that you ended up liking it, because I do remember at one point you saying you weren't sure about it anymore.
Yeah, it was making me nervous. Yeah. There was a lot happening, but I do think that the characters took space from one another when they needed it.
Mm-hmm.
And so even though it was kind of annoying there for a minute, like they realized that all of the different flags that were happening, they ended up realizing too and quoting that and then coming together better later.
Yeah.
So it turned me around, but definitely loved that one. The next one I read was Heat of the Moment. This is a BL fantasy that's completed on Leezen. It was completed with 30 episodes. This story follows Emperor Heeyun. He's recently appointed, and he holds the power of the dragon, and his body is not able to handle it. It's too strong. He literally cannot keep it at bay. It causes these horrible fevers, and if he doesn't do something to keep this at bay, then he's going to die, basically, because his body can't handle all of the power. They do find a half goblin who lives throughout the town, and they find out that basically goblins are able to nullify a lot of like crazy amounts of power, mostly because they usually steal it from other beings. But they're like, if you have short bursts of exposure to this goblin, he could probably help with relieving the fevers. So it starts out where basically just contact with the goblin ends up helping to keep the fevers at bay and making them go away. But the story really revolves around the Emperor Heeyun developing feelings for the half-goblin, who's supposed to just be there to help relieve the fevers, but he falls desperately in love with him in the process.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very cute story. It's also the same artist as Kiss and Slither, so immediately it had points in my book. I did like it a lot, but it was definitely C tier. Some of it just felt like PWP. It wasn't quite my bag, but there were also some cute moments too. So moving forward from Heat of the Moment, we have Dead Girl Walking. This series is a completed romance on Manta with 55 episodes. It is gem only, and this story was so unique from the beginning. It basically opens with the main character's death. And before she can die, she's given 10 train tickets to different parts of her life where she can try to not die. It's also about the romance between basically two people who had longed for each other but didn't really know how to start a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And when she continues running into the man that she loves in all of these different time periods, he starts to help her. Especially after, like, the him who's there is like, she's supposed to be dead. And her showing up to me, like, first felt like I was going crazy. But now I know that it's just once every year we're meeting up with one another. And we have a chance to change her fate. The series ending had me crying. And also, I didn't see it coming. And I did genuinely love this series so much. It's also this beautiful watercolor art. It's just so hard to explain. But I would have to rate Dead Girl Walking as an A. I'm so glad that I read it. There were a couple parts that were kind of confusing and hard to figure out, which did make me go back to reread some week over week because I felt like I missed something. But it was actually something that gets explained further on. So it had me on the edge of my seat. I was making sure that I had everything followed. But if it was just a little bit clearer, I think it would be absolutely perfect. Loved it.
I'm so glad you loved it.
The next one that I started reading for my list was Dagger to the Heart. It's a romance series on Webtoon. It's ongoing with 11 episodes. The series has been on a hiatus, mostly because of the creator's health issues. Mm-hmm. So obviously hoping that everything is fine there, but it hasn't returned yet. So I am caught up on all 11 episodes. It does follow the assassin Raphael, who was contracted to kill the princess of the empire. And when he goes to try to do so, he severely underestimated how powerful she was. And she ends up doing a counter contract with him, unbeknownst to him, one in which he's not allowed to hurt her. So he's bound to fail one of these contracts. He's either going to hurt her and complete his first contract, which his life is bound to, or he'll listen to this new contract with the princess that he had unbeknownst to him, where he's not allowed to harm a pretty hair on her head. So because he realizes that now his life is on the line with two conflicting contracts, he decides to work with the princess because there is somebody out, obviously, to get her. And she's trying to figure out who it is. So she's like, who better to tell me than the guy who got contracted to kill me? So it is super cute. It's supposed to return in 2026. And I am genuinely anticipating this one. I'm very much looking forward to it coming back. So I'm glad I started it. And now I'm just sad that I have to wait for more. And last but absolutely not least was Winter Woods on my list. This is a drama and romance series on Webtoon. It's completed with 129 episodes. You can unlock this one with ads, or you can do the bulk unlock with coins, which is what I ended up doing. I have no patience for watching 129 episodes worth of ads, so that was just the right choice for me. This story is so unique, and the way that it shows character growth for people, I've never seen something where I'm so emotionally attached to a character in my life. This was a story that follows a man created by an alchemist. He's like literally sewn together pieces of multiple other people, brought to life by this alchemist hundreds of years ago. And he's still alive. Miracle of science. He currently resides with a lab in modern day. And the lab is obviously running a bunch of tests on him. He's not living like a real life. You know, he is living, but he's not. And to the alchemist, he was seen as a failed experiment because he never got to have a beating heart. So he never really comprehended human emotions much. He was very detached from human life in general. And without a beating heart, some of him would slowly decay and other issues would arise. But now that he's in the care of this lab, they're wondering the same thing. Is he really alive? What does it mean to be alive? And it's a lot more of that philosophical conversation happening. So they decide, well, let's see if he's alive. We'll just release him and like monitor him and see how it goes. And so the person who runs this lab is friends with a girl named Jane, who is a author, and she's struggling to find a good theme for her book. And so this owner of the lab, Sarah, is like, I mean, if you had a good idea for a book just fall into your lap, would you take it? Or maybe are you just like struggling in general? And she's like, no, obviously, if I had something intriguing happen to me, I would feel inspired. And so Sarah plots for this zombie, basically, to come in contact with Jane. And Jane invites this zombie to live with her. And she tells Sarah, thinking Sarah has no idea, like, hey, this random guy who really doesn't seem alive is like at my house and says he doesn't have a name. She's like, that's crazy. Sounds like book material. And so Jane invites this zombie to live with her. And I mean, he really is going from knowing nothing from scratch. He's not been out and about in the world for a very long time. So he not only is retrying to learn everything around him, but he's also trying to learn human emotions. Like, what is grief? What is this? And it's just such a beautiful story. I mean, you see Winter become human, and you realize that it's not just the beating heart that made him this human being. Like, he was alive before he gets to that point, and he does get there. But then, you know, he realizes that some of his body is decaying now that his heart is beating. Some of his limbs are rejecting. And he has to decide, is it worth me going somewhere to get this fixed and never being around the people I love again? Or is it more worthwhile to die but have lived the life that I wanted to? This story made me bawl my eyes out. And I adore them so much. I could literally cry talking about it. I Loved this story. It was absolutely S tier for me. And I just adore it. Like, I look back at panels on it and I'm just smiling like a giddy little weirdo.
I'm so glad you loved it. Ending strong.
Yeah, ending strong. I would have to say, I know that we did the same for you. So it's without a doubt that Winter Woods was my top story for all of my New Year's resolutions. But I would also have to say Winter Woods is also my top story for all of my completed series this year.
Oh, that's a strong vote.
I cannot recommend this enough. The fact that there is no English print of this breaks my heart, but I have found it in Korean, and I almost just want to buy it in Korean because it has been out for quite a few years, and there hasn't been an English print yet. So if we got an English print, I would buy it, but maybe I'll already own the Korean one by then too.
Yeah.
So we shall see. But it's absolutely beautiful. So much, though, I literally started 2 other series by the same creator just to see if it could break my heart again. And you know what? They have very successfully. For me, other than the fact that I missed a couple of series that, you know, I intend to read eventually, maybe.
You did good.
I did okay.
Yeah.
You know, 2 untouched, but otherwise I read the rest of my stories.
Yeah.
So, you know, improvements. Thank you all so much for joining me on my New Year's recap, and looking forward to talking to you all tomorrow.
Goodbye.
Bye.